Well, a bit of a surprise today. My buddy Bob called me up that I sold my Cougar to. You might remember this Cougar. At the beginning of my videos, there's always kind of, you see my hand revving up an engine. Well, that's my old Cougar, a 67 XR7 that I built. And I sold that car several years ago to a guy, and we became friends after that. We've stayed in touch. Well, he calls me up about a week ago and said, hey, I'm thinking about selling that Cougar. Do you want it back? And I was like, yeah, that's pretty interesting. I kind of would like to have that back. And Nikki was like, absolutely, go buy that car back. And I'm like, yes, ma'am. So here we are. We just pulled in, and there it sits in the garage where it has ever since I sold it. So we're back. Let's go see if we can rouse Bob up and take a look at this car. So here I am with Bob, and he's let me in the shop. Pretty cool shop here. Say hey, Bob.
Howdy.
All right, so anyway, here's the car. This is the car that you see me reaching in here, kind of doing like this.
Yep.
But it had an Edelbrock carburetor on it back then, and Bob's put fuel injection on this car.
Yep.
And so Bob's run out of space. He's needing some space in here, so he calls me up and says, hey, would you be interested in buying your old Cougar back? And I was kind of like, well, you know, it's pretty interesting. I kind of like to have that back. And I told Nikki about it. Miss Nikki was like, absolutely, go buy that car back. And I was like, okay, well, let's go look at it.
Well, I told him that I'm not crazy about selling it. I need space. And this car is a little further along than where I want it. So this would be the vehicle that I sold. But I already know, like I told you, that if I sell it, I already know I'm going to regret it.
As I did.
But I need space to do some other vehicles. And so the space is what I need. I just told Richard that I had done a little bit of work, body work to it, very minor. I like the car the way it is. But we can start it up here in a minute. You see the Sniper. The reason that I priced it to you for what I bought it is because there is one issue with the Sniper.
Okay.
But let me start it.
Okay, let's start it.
Let's see. Go. Keys out of here. You're gonna have to edit me getting the keys out.
It's all right. I do a lot of editing.
I'm not gonna touch the gas, but I'm gonna see.
Okay.
I've adjusted it, the squeak's still there with the belt. When it warms up, it goes away, just like before.
Right. Yeah, I don't know if it's the idler pulley or have you changed the idler pulley?
Yeah, I changed that. I put a new stickier belt on it.
I don't know what that is.
And it will go away once it warms up. I still think it's the belt and not something else. But I
don't know.
The Sniper setup, got a electric fuel pump in the tank.
Okay.
From Holley.
I see it's got a different distributor now, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's a part of the HyperSpark.
Yeah.
The HyperSpark comes with the coil, the box, the distributor, and it's all set. It's all plug and play.
Right.
Now, the secondaries are not opening right now, and they were. But your carburetor, when you was on here, you didn't have any secondaries.
Really?
I don't know how you went to the drag strip and dragged it without any secondaries. That bowl was bone dry.
Really?
You was running around on 2 barrels.
I wonder how it would have run with 4.
Because I noticed that you couldn't kick it down.
Right.
You wouldn't kick down, and then we took it open. The bowl was bone dry.
Yeah.
We changed the jets. We opened it up a little bit. We could never get it to run just right.
Right.
And that's why I put the Sniper on it, because I have a Bronco. I've had the Sniper on for 8 years. We can go down there right now. It's been setting for 2 or 3 weeks. It starts right up. I can back it out, take off down the road. It runs great.
Yeah.
So this was running good, and then it seemed to, it started hesitating.
Yeah.
When I gave it some gas and lights, it hesitated. So I took it up to a guy down the street here. He says, oh yeah, well he adjusted the carb. So he's taking it out of parameters of my handheld tuner.
Right, right.
Well, it's okay. I mean, you can get in and drive it down the road. Runs okay, it doesn't run it. But he's taken out the loop.
Right.
Where it goes through the O2 sensor and self-adjusts.
Right.
So as far as the Sniper goes, it's not doing what a Sniper does.
Right. Okay.
Okay. So, but I mean, it starts up, it runs, goes through the gears. I mean, all that's great.
Let me listen to the back of it here.
Oh, it's got a great thing.
Yeah. Cool.
It's running a little rich now. But see, the guy that tuned it this last time, which didn't really know anything about snipers,
Right.
he said it was too rich and he leaned it out.
Still smells rich.
Still a little rich.
Yeah. It does.
Now, on the tuner here, now this is the way I always kept it. I always kept, now when it's set up right, I always set it to where when the monitor came on, it came onto this page.
Yeah.
So then that way I know when the fans come on. Throttle positioning, my AFR, air fuel ratio, my RPM, my battery voltage, I know it's all right there. And my temp. Now why that's red, when this thing started acting up, that went red. It's not overheating.
Right.
It's 170. There's your tack.
Right.
Throttle positioning. And then later when the temp goes up, your fan comes on.
Yeah.
But
so it's showing that it's overheating on the red there, but it's not overheating.
No.
Yeah.
It's something. You could set your temperature when you want that to be red.
Yeah.
And caution to come on.
Yeah.
But right now, it won't let me set it. And I talked to a guy named, there's a Jesse's in Bowling Green.
Okay.
They're kids, to me, young people.
Right.
They can plug their laptop up to this and tune it right now.
Right.
Because I had one issue with the Bronco one time and it shut down on me.
Right.
I put it on my trailer, hauled it back down here from Tennessee. A kid come in here and he plugged that cable to his laptop. He goes, well, Bob, you're running 1,000, it says you're running 1,000 cubic inch engine. It's instantly flooding.
Right.
So he gets on there and he punches a couple things, reaches in there, starts it right up. And I go, why did it do that? Well, he got on the phone to Holley they reflashed the chip.
Yeah.
And he said, that will never happen again. Well, for years, I was leery, but it hasn't happened again. So there's a glitch in the program.
Oh.
But since then, it's ran excellent. And I want this one to do that, but it was acting up. So I talked to Taylor Inge Automotive.
Yeah.
He's the one that set this up. He isn't messing with these anymore. So then, I just haven't met somebody else to get this back. A local guy said get that cable and he'll plug it up, because the other guys already have that cable,
right,
you know, that do this kind of work.
Right.
So, but that's where that is.
Okay.
So, but
okay. So it needs a little bit more tuning work, man.
Well, I tell you, I think this can be fixed. I'm just.
Yeah.
I'm not a computer guy.
Right. Well, here it is. It's back home. We're getting ready to go ahead and move it up a little bit and just store it up under the old wagon for a little bit so I can get the other vehicles back in here, because it's cold outside. And there'll be a lot more stuff to come, a lot more content with this car coming. Car shows, drag racing, maybe drag and drives. There'll be all kind of stuff going on with this car, so stay tuned. I just want to start by giving y'all a little backstory on the car. So a coworker of mine approached me about 8 years ago, well actually probably about 9 years ago, roughly, about buying this car. And at the time, it was a dream project of his. He was going to build him a Dan Gurney special tribute car out of this car. And it stalled. He really didn't have that much room to work on it. It was currently in his garage, kind of being used as a storage shelf, to be honest with you. Nothing against him. I mean, he didn't have as much room. I mean, not everybody has this kind of space. I get that. But it stalled out, but he'd done some work on the car already. He had approached me about buying the car, and I really wasn't interested because at the time, I mean, I really didn't have the bandwidth. I actually had a shop, but it was in a different state, which is neither here nor there. I had a place to work on the car. I just didn't have time. So I passed on the deal. Now, a year or so went by, and he approached me again about buying the car. And he had dropped his price a little bit because he really needed to get it out of his way. He was doing a little bit of mechanic work on the side out of his garage, and he had one car up on jack stands in the driveway, and he just needed to get it out of his way. He knew he wasn't going to have time to work on it, so I agreed to go on over there and take a look at it. At the time, Nikki and I had just moved back here to Indiana, and we built this shop. I mean, we didn't have anything in it yet. It was a clean slate, so I definitely had room to work on the car, and I had a little more time. And the price was right. So I said, well, let's go over there and look at it. So I went on over, took a look at the car. He had the distributor out, and the battery was out, and I think the carburetor was off of it, and a few odds and ends. There was some stuff we had to look around. We kind of scrounged around his garage there and found the stuff that we needed to put the car back together, put the engine together, and worked on it for 2 or 3 hours, and actually got it running. Now, it didn't run real good, but it was running, so we took it for a test drive, and we got about, I don't know, a couple of miles from his house, and it stalled out and died. Just felt like it just flooded. It was flooded to death, and we went out there and used the old tap on the needle valve with your Leatherman trick to get the needle valve unstuck. But by that time, we'd already run the battery down in it, and we couldn't get it started. So we called his wife, who was close by. So she came out there and jumped the car. We got it fired up again, and I went ahead and agreed to buy the car. So I just followed him. He drove it on and out here to my house. It's about 10 miles away. So we brought it here and took care of business and sent him on his way. Now, he had already done some modifications to the car. He had put probably the nicest thing he did was he put a quick performance 9-inch rear end in it, complete with leaf springs, 350 gear, 31 spline axles, all that stuff, because he had planned on putting a pretty hefty 351 Windsor in the car. But at this time, so it was a factory 289 4-barrel car. And I don't know how much horsepower they were. I would say in the low 200s, something like that. But he had put a 5-liter out of a 94 Mustang GT in it and had the serpentine belt system on it, which was nice. I liked that. But the engine was tired. I mean, I'm going to tell you, those engines made about 205 rear wheel out of the factory, and I'm going to say this thing's lucky if it made 140. It was pretty sick. But it did run, and he had put of course, he didn't have fuel injection on it anymore, not the multi-port that the Mustang came with. But he had put the 289 4-barrel intake, the cast iron intake on it, with a Edelbrock 1406, a 600 CFM carburetor on it. It had factory iron manifolds from the 289 on it, factory C4 transmission. The car, pretty low miles. They only had about 64,000 original miles on the car. It's a really nice car, all original interior, no flaws in the interior whatsoever. I mean, the carpet, the dash, the door panels. The door panels, one of the door panel pockets was kind of ratty, but I mean, the interior is really nice in the car, and you'll be able to see some of that going forward. Anyway, I did get it running a little bit better, and Nikki and I drove the thing around for a couple of years, just kind of tooling around in it. It wasn't very fast. I did take it to the drag strip. Now, if you see the intro to my videos, you can see me drag racing it against a 454 SS truck, which I'm gonna say that truck was pretty tired too, because this car, that was the 8th mile down at Ohio Valley, and it ran a 1060 in the 8th. It was sick. Embarrassing. So that truck didn't beat me, but he didn't beat me by much, so, it was pretty embarrassing for him too, I would say. But it was fun to do anyway. But after that, I kind of got the itch. I needed to make this thing go a little better, if you know what I mean. Well, as you could probably imagine, right after that, I decided it was time to go ahead and rebuild this engine and modify it a little bit to see if I can make the car a little bit faster. So I tore the engine down and took it to my buddy's machine shop to have all the machine work done on it. I did notice one thing that I did like that the previous owner did, another thing besides the rear end, was he had put some the GT40P cylinder heads on it from a Ford Explorer. And that was a little bit better flowing head for that engine. So I had my buddy deck them and put a 5-angle valve job on them. And we put 1.6 roller rockers on it. And I had a Motorsport B 303 camshaft that the previous owner had given me with the car, that I put in the engine. Put it together. I bought an Edelbrock Performer 289 intake manifold at a swap meet, and I did some port work on the cylinder heads and port matched them to the intake manifold. So got a little bit better flow out of them, I'd say, from that. I don't really know how much. I didn't test them, but I would say it was improved a little bit. So we did that. Like I said, it had the Edelbrock 600 carburetor. I put that back on there, put a set of headers on it. And after doing all that, man, this thing was a dog. It did not run good. I know that's what you weren't expecting me to say, but it's true. The thing just did not make any power. It sounded great. I mean, if you could probably see also in my intro, whenever I reach in there towards the end of my intro and I'm revving up the engine a little bit, that was that engine was that good. Not only that, but it had a harmonic vibration at about 3,500 RPM, which is right where you drive it just about with a 350 gear, doing about 70 miles an hour. So, yeah, it was not pleasing at all. So I called my buddy about it, and he suggested I probably had a 28-ounce flywheel on it, which was the older style flywheel. In 1981, I believe it was 81, they went to a 50-ounce flywheel. Correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was 81, but I'm not sure about that. But anyway, I knew I had a 50-ounce flywheel on it because I had bought a brand new flywheel for it. But I went ahead and checked it anyway and confirmed that. So after that, he said, man, just bring it back down here and we'll just do an internal balance on the engine. So I did that. I went ahead and yanked it out, took it apart, took it back down there to him, and he internally balanced it. And while we were at it, we went ahead and we put 10.5 to 1 forged pistons in it. It was bored 30 over already from the first time we built it. And let's see. Oh, we ditched that B303 camshaft because he said that was more for a fuel injected engine. Really wouldn't run right with the carburetor. So we just had Comp Cams do a custom grind camshaft based on all our other engine specs for this car. And it really has a good exhaust note to it. So, like I said, the thing's about 10.5 to 1. It's got a nice camshaft in it, forged pistons, headers, port work. So I put a 600 Holley on it at that time. Now, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, but so while it was at the machine shop that time, I went ahead and took the transmission to the shop and had it rebuilt, had a shift kit put in it, and I put one of those B&M 2400 stall converters in it, which is, it's not a great amount of stall, but it's a little bit. So this 600 Holley that I had on there, if you notice earlier in the video when I was talking to Bob in his garage, and he was saying how the secondary bowl was completely dry in that carburetor, so I was running on 2 barrels. Well, this is a marine carburetor, and I bought it from a guy who was a professional wakeboarder. He was a sponsor. They gave him, I think he was sponsored by either Malibu, maybe Malibu Boats. So they would give him a boat every couple years, and he needed a carburetor or something. But anyway, so he sold me his old carburetor, which was basically, it was almost brand new. But apparently there was an issue with the carburetor that, I'm not saying he knew it. He probably didn't know it because he didn't seem like a mechanical guy, but apparently they put another carburetor on his boat, and he made it sound like they were just going to a bigger carburetor. But this carburetor had an issue, and I didn't know it. But I'm sure it was an easy problem to fix. I just didn't drive the car that much. I had driven the car a couple of 100 miles after the engine rebuild was done. And during that time, I'd taken it down to the Street Rod Nationals in Louisville. And the second day, that's a Wednesday through Sunday event. And on Thursday, Bob, he was parked kind of pretty close to me. And he was walking around my car over there looking at it. And he really liked it. I could tell he liked it. And he asked me if I wanted to sell it. And I told him, no, I don't really want to sell it. But he asked me about it 2 or 3 more times that day. And he, well, what would you sell it for if you were going to sell it? And folks, let me tell you. Now, there is an old saying, if you don't want to sell something, don't put a price on it. And that's true, because I said, well, I thought I'd put a big price on it. You know, he's not going to want to buy it. Well, I put a big price on it, what I thought, you know, he wouldn't pay. And he said, okay. Yeah, I could have backed out at the time. But, you know, initially when I bought this car, the purpose of buying this car was to get it going and flip it to generate money for my Mach 1 build. So I had to keep that in mind, but I'd already had this car for, you know, a few years, and I was pretty attached to it. Didn't put a lot of work into it, a lot of time. Driven it around quite a bit. So he said he wanted to buy the car, and I had to kind of had to do the right thing, even though I didn't want to sell the car. I knew that was my intent the whole time. So I went ahead and agreed to sell it to him. And brought a little tear to my eye when I sold it, when I saw it drive away. But, you know, it's the name of the game. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do. But I told him before I let it go, that was on Thursday, I knew they were drag racing up here in my hometown, well, in Salem. Salem's not really my hometown. Pekin's my hometown. But Salem is where all the action was growing up. So that was where all me and my buddies and we all spent all of our time, cruising around up there and drag racing and talking to girls and doing all that stuff stupid young kids do. So anyway, they were racing up there at the old airport Friday. So I told him, you know, I only had a chance to drive this car a couple 100 miles. And it was a significant difference after balancing the engine, changing the camshaft and the carburetor and all that, significantly better. I'm going to say in the mid to high 3s, maybe even 400 horsepower, I'm guessing what it made. But I told him I'm going to take it up there and make a couple passes in it because I wanted to have some fun with the car first. And he's like, well, fine, you know, go ahead. It's my car. It's still my car at that point. So I went home that night, and the next day came back, went to the show, and that night I went and drag raced it. And I drag raced against the guy he wasn't a buddy of mine then. He was the son of a friend of mine, but we're friends now. But I raced with him, and he had one of those late model Malibus, like, I don't know, 80, 81, something Malibu, with a small block in it. Sounded pretty good. Sounded a lot more choppy than mine. And he did beat me. He beat me by about a fender that night. But getting back to this carburetor, about it only running on 2 barrels, that's interesting to me because I really wonder how the car would have run if it had 4 barrels. So I'm really anxious to get this thing back on a drag strip just to see how it runs. I'll probably end up putting a trailer hitch on this car and driving it and everything. So, you know, we'll see what happens. So here we are 5 years later, and Bob, he had taken the 600 Holley off and put this Holley Sniper on it. He was real impressed with this Holley Sniper system because he had this system on his old Bronco, and he said he never touches it. He just gets in it, never touches the throttle, starts it, takes off down the road, it does everything it's supposed to do. He put it on this car, and it doesn't work that way. It's got some issues. And I've heard some horror stories about these things. You know, there's some videos out there about these things dumping tons of fuel down in, washing the rings, blowing the engines up, just filling the oil pan full of gas. You know, I'm kind of leery about it, but on the same note, it's a pretty expensive system, and Holley has a really good tech team out there. So I'm going to try to lean on them a little bit and try to get this thing figured out. I don't know what all's wrong with it, but my plan is to go on up here, get under the hood, take a visual, get a look at it, fire the car up, just kind of note some things, just gather some information, and go from there. So without further ado, let's get on under the hood and take a look, see what we can figure out. Pop us one of these lights in here. Gotta help us out a little bit. So here is the Sniper EFI. And what Bob was telling me is there was a guy that came in here adjusting, I think he was adjusting the throttle plate. But what I want to do is fire it up and let it get up to temperature and see if anything obvious sticks out. First thing I want to do is look in here. Okay, what I'm seeing right off the bat is an issue that I'm going to have to resolve before I can do anything else. One of the other YouTubers that I watch had a video about this, and they talked about an issue they had where one of the barrels is dry and the other three are squirting just fine. Sorry about silencing the audio here. I had to do it because the squealing of the belt or whatever is canceling out my microphone. Let's see if revving it up makes a difference at all. Right toward the end, you can see where it squirted a little bit and then stopped again. Now these Holley Sniper units are pretty cool. It looks like a carburetor. You know, it resembles a carburetor. But this side cover is actually a fuel rail. There's two fuel injectors in there. And I'm going to take that off. And I'm going to swap those two injectors from the front one to the back one and see if the back barrel is dry. If it is, then I know we have a bad injector. One thing I am going to do, I'm going to go ahead and let it warm up. I want to get it up to 160 just to kind of see if that changes anything up here first. In the meantime, you hear that squeaking? So that squeaking was there when I sold the car. And I thought it was the belt or an idler pulley, and Bob said he changed all that stuff and it never went away. So I'm gonna get my old stethoscope out and just poke around in here, do a little listening, see if I can identify where that squeak's coming from. That squeaking noise canceled out my microphone again. So I went ahead and silenced the audio on this part of the clip as well. But what I'm doing is listening to everything that moves, like the water pump, power steering pump, alternator, idler pulley, and also on the valve covers and the valve cover bolts to see if I can hear the rocker arms or the push rods and see if they're making any squeaking noises or whatever. These stethoscopes are pretty cool. They really amplify the sound and make it easy to find the source of any nuisance noises, but they are very sensitive. I mean, you can definitely hurt your eardrums if you tap them too hard on something or listen to something really loud, so be careful. All right, so I let it get up to 190, and one thing I did notice, I went over to listen to the Terminator unit, or not the Terminator, but the Sniper unit with my stethoscope. And when I touched the Sniper unit with my stethoscope, that one dry barrel started squirting. And I was like, okay, I don't think that did it, but I think it was a coincidence that when I was looking at it, it started squirting. And so I went in here and I just kind of tapped on it a little bit, and it would start squirting a little bit. And when I tap, it would squirt a little bit, and then it had no effect at some point. So I definitely think I've got a sticking injector there. I'm going to go ahead and let this thing cool off. I did notice too that the squeaking noise decreased as the engine got warmer. So not really sure what that means yet, but what it does mean that I do know is I'm going to let it cool off so that it'll squeak again. And then I'm going to take the belt off. I'm going to start it up, make sure it's squeaking. Then I'm going to take the belt off and see if it's still squeaking. Okay, so the car's cooled off pretty good. It's a little bit warm, but I think it's cool enough to do what I want to do. I'm going to check the oil real quick. I want to look at it, smell of it. I just want to make sure that we haven't had one of those episodes where the Sniper dumped a bunch of fuel down in the crankcase like I heard about before. Feels okay. Doesn't smell like fuel. I think we're good there. All right, now, I guess the next thing I want to do is fire this thing up and make sure we got a squeak. So let's get in here and pop this serpentine belt off. Release that tensioner there. Okay, the squeak is gone. That's fabulous news, because I definitely didn't want to have to get into the engine and work on the push rods. I was sure that wasn't it anyway, but we definitely have something going on with the serpentine system. So let's go ahead and shut it off. All right, that's great news. Just wonder what is squeaking. Oh, check this out. I think I found it. We got a squeaky alternator. Don't squeak that way. Squeaks that way. Okay, so now that we know what that is, that's minor. It's still charging good and everything. Not that concerned about it at this point. We're going to move on to the Sniper unit. I put the belt back on, but before I did that, I used my stethoscope, and I got in here and I listened right around. I stuck my stethoscope right on this Welsh plug right here that covers up the shaft where the bearing is, and up here. And when I turned that pulley with my stethoscope up here, I really couldn't hear it. But when I touched it to this Welsh plug here, I could hear the squeak through my stethoscope. So I'm thinking it's this shaft may be rubbing this Welsh plug, or the bearing itself could be bad. I don't know. It's a brand new alternator that I put on this car before I sold it, and it's probably got, less than 2,000 miles on it. So, and it was squeaking from the beginning. I just thought it was an idler pulley. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get with PowerMaster and see if I can exchange it. And if I can't, then I'm going to take it to my local alternator starter rebuilder guy up here close to us and see if he can work on it for me. But in the meantime, we're going to continue on with this Sniper EFI. We're going to go ahead and pop this fuel rail off and see if we can't swap that injector out. Switch them, just do like that, and see if it follows it. So I guess what I'm going to do now is go ahead and relieve the fuel pressure off this line so that I can take the side off of that carburetor or throttle body. Let's see if we can crack it loose right here before the gauge. All right. So there really wasn't a whole lot of pressure, but we are draining off the fuel. So now, I apologize if I'm talking too loud. I'm not used to using these wireless microphones. Inside voice, Richard. Inside voice. Okay. Let's look here. Let's see what we got to do. Looks like there's two Allen head screws. So let's see if we can get in here and get those loose. Got the dropsies. That wasn't very tight, which I don't know, probably doesn't have to be too awfully tight. There's a screw right in the old tool and parts tray. Okay, I should just unplug this TPS. Get that out of the way. Might help a little bit. Let's see if this will pull off of there. Definitely loose. There we go. So we've pulled the injectors out of the base there. So in here, you can see there and there is where these injectors were pushed in, sealed with these O-rings right here. So this should be the one that's giving me the problems. So I got this. It's a replacement fuel injector that was recommended by another YouTuber. And here it is. Let's see if we can pop that old one out of there. Able to wiggle it just a little bit. There we go. Pop that out. Now, I need to try to, there we go, unplug that one. Now, that back in. I'm going to take some of this Seal Glide lubricant. Just put a little dab of it on these O-rings. Just to kind of encourage them to go back home where they need to be. Just like that. See if I can pop that back up in there. Plug doesn't look happy. Let's see here. Yeah. So these terminals do not look like they're over on the side where they need to be to make contact with the contacts. So I just kind of pushed them over a little bit.
Interesting. That looks more better. I'm wondering if that one wasn't even plugged in all the way. Because the way this was, so these little terminals are kind of off center here. I don't know if you can see that. Those two little terminals are kind of off center. I can't show you because that plug, I've already plugged it back in, but that plug, the latch is on the same side and they're off center on the same side as the other injector. But those terminals in that plug, they're kind of a box. And these blades go up in them. And they were over here. And I noticed that that plug was sitting kind of cockeyed. And those terminals were off center. I don't think they were plugged in. So, since I've got that one plugged in, I'm going to go ahead and use it just to see if this injector works. Okay, I'm going to put some of that Sil Glide on that other injector O-ring, just to kind of help encourage it to go back in there a little easier. It's just a silicone-based lubricant for rubber. All right, let's see if that'll pop back in there. Go back home. Get your hole. Get your hole. Get in your hole. Looks like it's lined up. Maybe I don't have it. Maybe I don't have that injector clocked right. Let's try that. I don't know. There we go. Popped in there. Let's go ahead and bolt it back on. If this works, that was way easier than I thought it was going to be. I'm not going to go crazy on them, but I am going to snug them up a little bit better than they were. Okay. And now, plug our TPS back in. Okay. Good, looking good. Hook our fuel line back up. The old AN fitting.
I can figure out where I put my wrenches now. All right. Snug that back up. Crazy. Huh. Tighten that back up. Oh, that's a left-hander. Yeah. Okay. All right, now, so we're going to go ahead and fire this back up and look down in there and see if all 4 of those are squirting. I'm going to go ahead and pump the pressure up a couple times. First time I want to get out and look, make sure I don't see anything leaking anywhere. Nothing squirting out and going crazy. Don't see no drips, nothing like that. All right. Let's cycle the pump again. All right, here we go. Okay, I'm really getting tired of this squeaking sound. It's canceled my microphone again, but as you can see, all 4 injectors are squirting now. So we have resolved the issue and the car sounds noticeably better already. All right, so the next thing I want to do is I want to check my secondary linkage. From what I understand, this should be set for a street car so that whenever the primary is open about 40%, then the secondary is open. And I'm gonna tell you, they're opening now. But when I first came over here to look at this, they would not open. I mean, I had to grab a hold of this and really wrench on it, and it popped. These secondary butterflies in here were stuck. So that's another issue with this particular unit. The secondaries were, I don't know how they got stuck. I mean, there must be an issue with the actual plates themselves binding up. I did look that up a little bit, and that is a common issue with these as well. And I may end up having to pull this off here and taking those plates out and polish them up on the edges so that there's no sharp edges. Maybe they won't catch in there, and actually loosen the screws, open it and shut it to make sure that they're aligned properly, and then tighten them back up again. But as for right now, they're actually opening and closing. Now I did notice that if I just open and close it, they work fine. And it gets to about, I'd say it's more like 50% or more before they open. And there's actually a little bit left. You can see that. So they're not fully open, but there are other holes. I can move this linkage down to, there's 2 more holes down there. And what that does is, I'm assuming that when I move that down, that'll make the response for the secondaries faster. I'm okay with it where it is for right now, but what I did notice was if I just open and close it, it's okay. But if I open it and snap it back, it doesn't stick like it was, but you can hear a little bit of a pop. Hear that? They're still opening. It's not doing it now. If you just let them close easy. But if you let it snap back, they're stuck again. But not like they were. I don't know how they got stuck that bad, the way they were. It's mechanical, so I'm not that concerned about it right now. It's actually working, and it's not going to overcome my foot. If I pull this back, hit the gas pedal hard enough, it's going to pop that loose if it got stuck like that again. But I don't think it'll get stuck like that again. But the next thing I want to do is you're supposed to adjust this curb idle screw about a 1/2 to 1 turn in from initial contact. Now, I want to get up in here and look at these plates. I'm moving them. And you can't really probably see where the screw contacts the throttle plate arm. But I can see it. And I want to get down in here. So that's about initial contact there. So we're going to go ahead and turn this a half a turn. And that's just a starting point. Because we're going to adjust that some more once we get the thing fired up and warmed up. And when we go into the screen to adjust the idle air control there, the IAC they call it. I'm assuming they mean idle air control. I'm guessing, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. And the throttle position sensor, the TPS. So you adjust those in the computer. So we've got everything basically set out here. I'm going to go in and start working on the computer. All right, so now the next thing we have to do is fire the car up and let it warm up to operating temperature, which is 160 degrees minimum on the monitor. All right, we're warmed up at operating temperature. We're at 186 degrees, 187. So take a look at this monitor though. Turn this light off. So the TPS is supposed to be 0, which it is, top right corner. The IAC down here at the bottom left is supposed to be between 2 and 8, which it is. It's kind of fluctuating between 2 and 6. Everything seems to be right, except the fact that the temperature is showing red. Which, that's normal operating temperature. But I've got to figure out how to operate this thing a little bit further and try to set that up to where it's displaying properly. But the throttle response is good. It's snappy. This thing sounds really good. It's like it's ready to go. I can't justify making any adjustments on that at this point. It's running what seems to me like to be perfectly, so. I'm gonna do some research, see if I can figure out how to make that temperature setting not be red. So that's next. Stay tuned.